Join us every Wednesday for InFocus, a weekly talk show produced by the St. Kitts Nevis Information Service, where we provide exclusives with key persons within the government and discuss pertinent, relevant, and interesting matters that affect us all. Tune in every Wednesday, live on ZIZ Radio and streamed live on Facebook at SKNIS Media and ZIZ Online. InFocus, your government, your business.
I'm Ian Richards. Welcome to InFocus, a weekly program where we zoom in on what's happening within and throughout the government, your government. The Clarence Fitzroy Brent College and by extension the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis took a major step towards sustainability on April 9 through the launch of the pioneering Caribbean Center of Excellence in Research, Innovation and Workforce Training, otherwise known as the CRIWT project. Now the project will help the Twin Island Federation to transition into a hub for sustainable research in the field of green energy, innovation, and 21st century workforce development. With us today to share more about how this will be done and the tremendous opportunities for residents are President of the Clarence Fitzroy Brent College, Andrew Abraham, and Curriculum Development Officer at CFBC and lead for the CRIWT project, Fritzroy Wilkin. Stay with us as we delve into your government, your business. Thanks for staying with us and join me now in welcoming President of the CFBC, Mr. Andrew Abraham, and Mr. Wilkin, who is the lead project for the lead coordinator, that is, for the project we're here to talk about, which is the CRIWT project. Gentlemen, welcome to InFocus.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Richard. Same here.
So we talk a bit in the opening about the Caribbean Center of Excellence in Research, Innovation and Workforce Training, and it's called the CRIWT project. Mr. President, explain to us exactly what the project is.
Thank you very much again, Mr. Richards, and it's certainly a privilege to be here today with you to speak about the latest initiative at CFBC. The CRIWT project, as you label it, is the Caribbean Center of Excellence in Research, Innovation and Workforce Training in Renewable Energy. Now, while renewable energy is broadly defined, that center basically helps to train persons in a range of areas that relates to energy, which includes hydropower, wind, of course, geothermal, and of course solar, which also focuses a lot on research and innovation training in photovoltaic, or what it commonly called PV installation and maintenance. So
and that would be solar PV.
Solar PV, and it is common. Well, I think it's scientifically called photovoltaic. So for short, we say PV. That's correct. So in a nutshell, pretty much the Caribbean Center for Excellence in Research and Innovation, Workforce Training and Renewable Energy, it is that facility at CFBC where we would be, of course, embarking on training persons in those areas that I've just highlighted. So,
how did that project come about?
Again, this is an initiative, and of course we'll have to give much shout out, I would say, of course, to our Board of Governors led by Dr. Tamu Petra Brown, and it's of course one of our initiatives as it relates to moving 21st century programs at CFBC that are competitive for both context and our community. And this project came about with, of course, that idea and the partnership with Green Solutions International led by Dr. Wayne Archibald, which is a son of the soil here in St. Kitts. So the partnership between CFBC and Green Solutions International came about as a result of the connections between Green Solutions International and, of course, our chair, and of the college as me as the president got involved as well, in which we were able to put together a proposal after we felt it was a really good idea, and approached the UNDP Small Grants Program. Again, for that particular initiative, we had a memorandum of agreement between Green Solutions and CFBC that was signed back in November 2023. Hence the reason why we are here today now, sharing with the public this incredible center that would provide training for persons in renewable energy here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. And we have also ambitions to move outside of our borders throughout the sub-region.
You just mentioned the board. How did they receive the project when it was first proposed?
Of course, this is a project that is fully endorsed by our Board of Governors, as I said earlier, led by Dr. Brown. And it's the reason why we are here today, also celebrating and highlighting this project initiative. So it's well received and supported by our Board of Governors as one of the new initiatives in terms of our offerings at CFBC in terms of training.
Let me come to you now. Of course, you are the lead coordinator for the project. Tell us a bit about the details, the specific aspects of CRIWT.
Let me start by saying, Ian, that the intention of the project is really to build a hub, but it's a hub that would provide services to the Caribbean region. It involves training, and we are starting with training that is focusing on the PV installation, maintenance and repairs, and also the electric vehicle maintenance and repairs. The project, the duration is 6 weeks of training, and the training is offered using 2 modalities. The first modality is a self-paced online mode, and the second is that is for 5 weeks, and the second is 1 week face-to-face hands-on practical component. So there will be engaged in the theory, the content for the first 5 weeks, and then for the final week, the trainees would meet face-to-face with the facilitators to focus on the hands-on practical component.
Solar PV installation and repair, and also electronic vehicle maintenance and repair. What drove the motivation to select those 2 areas as what will be started out for in the instance of this initiative?
Right. We are partnering with GSI, as the President just said. And GSI has done extensive work in those areas, in particular solar PV installation. Right? If you had to ask Dr. Archibald that question, he would tell you we have the best of the best. Right? And because of his expertise and his reach in those areas, we have decided to focus on solar PV and electric vehicle to start with. But remember, it's a Caribbean...
Which would be electronic vehicles, because there are practically very few here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So why start there?
Okay. Remember, we said we're building a Caribbean center. It's a Caribbean hub. So we can't just look at the numbers in St. Kitts and Nevis. We have to look at the wider region, because that is what we are preparing to serve, the wider Caribbean region. Okay. The other thing is we want to ensure that as CFBC evolves to support the government's program towards a leading small island sustainable state, that we build the necessary capacities that are needed to ensure that we achieve these goals. And part of that is to ensure that we have skills in the renewable energies. So as I said, we are starting with solar, PV, and electronic vehicles, maintenance and repairs. Even though you may feel here that the numbers are small, very shortly I could see quite a number of EVs being imported in the region, not just St. Kitts Nevis, in the region, and we want to ensure that we have the necessary skills resources to maintain and provide the necessary repairs for those vehicles.
So Mr. President is actually looking forward.
Yes. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm actually excited about this initiative. But just to add a bit of statistic as it relates to both PV installation within the region, and electric vehicles. Statistics derived from the OECS authority and of course the Caribbean community revealed that there is a growing demand for skilled professionals in the field, and the reason being for that growing demand, there is an example that was given where there is a 20% increase in solar PV installation in the region, and without a number given for electric vehicles on streets within the region, we have already started seeing EVs on our roads. So we are not going to be complacent and sit there and allow for such a transformation as it relates to the use of renewable energy and not position ourselves to take advantage of the opportunity and also to empower our people, the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis, and also our region with the skills that is necessary to seize the opportunity or take the opportunities that will become available for them, again, to create employment. And for CFBC, we want to be in the forefront to ensure that we are helping build capacity, not only in our federation, as Mr. Wilkin mentioned, throughout the Caribbean region.
And I would imagine it's not just about creating employment, but the opportunity is also there for persons to create their own businesses, where they'll be able to employ others.
Definitely. The entrepreneurial opportunity there as well. And again, as I mentioned, it's about people empowerment and being able to identify or look at the opportunities that are available and be so equipped to take these opportunities. And one way to equip an individual to seize the opportunities that becomes available is by having the training and the certification, of course, that would allow them to go into that industry and practice.
So persons now who are going to be involved in this project, and we can start with the trainers. You mentioned that the first 5 weeks an online course. Explain to us who will be doing the training, how is it going to work?
Okay, so first of all, let me speak a bit to the selection of the persons, right? We were very deliberate with our selection because we want to build human resource capacity, not only for training, but also to sustain the Renewable Energy Center. We were very deliberate in identifying the persons who applied for the program. We wanted to ensure that persons have background in electrical and electronics, persons who would have had background in EVs, even though you may feel here that our numbers are small, already we have persons here who were exposed to EV maintenance. So we looked at that as well. We wanted teachers because the training, to start with, is a trainer workshop. So we also looked at persons who already have experience in training in the electrical field, and if you didn't have the exposure, but we felt that you had the aptitude to absorb the material and be successful, then you were also considered. So these were the main criteria that we use to identify the trainees in the program. We do have a mix of persons. As I said, we have teachers, we have technicians, we have persons from government departments, we have persons from the private sector, and we do have one or two entrepreneurs. That is persons who did training in electrical, electronics, and they now have their own business, but want to be on board with the renewable energy agenda. Right? We also wanted to ensure that we capture as much as possible the female gender. Unfortunately, we were not as successful as we would have liked. And for the second cohort, we intend to be a little more aggressive in ensuring that we have more of the female gender coming on board. So we have 15 trainees in the first cohort, and of the 15, we have one female. We also have we have persons from both St. Kitts and Nevis. It so happens that one female is also that one person from Nevis who is on board with the training.
But let me stop you there, Mr. Wilkin, and ask specifically about how the recruitment was done, because you mentioned that there's only one female,
right,
and person from St. Kitts and Nevis. So how was they recruited for the program?
Well, we advertised the program. Persons were able to apply online. We also part of the application was a pre-assessment because we wanted to assess your knowledge of PV solar and or EV, not to eliminate you, but to get a sense as to where to start with you. Because the objective really is to help you through the program so that you can be certified. So we applied, just like we would do at CFBC, we applied, persons responded, persons had to submit their CVs and the necessary supporting certificates. So we looked at that and then we used that to determine who our first 15 trainees will be.
And the person who was certified in EV, did they get that training here? Did they get the experience elsewhere?
Well, we have had persons who were exposed, and some of them had their training here because Dr. Archibald would have done similar training prior to this project. And so some of them would have had training with him. He also did, I think it was an East program with children where you expose them to the renewable energies and so on. So yes, some of these persons they did have their training here with Dr. Archibald.
Mr. President, speak to us a bit about the importance of ensuring that more women are involved in fields like this, which of course would be considered traditionally male-dominated from CFBC's perspective.
Yeah. It's very important for us at CFBC as it relates to our gender in programs that are traditionally male-dominated. Example, electrical, which is closely tied to what we are speaking about today, renewable energy. Of course, is a different form of source of energy. And we at CFBC, although we've seen over the years female students in our non-traditional, traditional programs where it is dominated by the male, we are seeing students in carpentry and automotive and electrical in small amounts, but it is encouraging. And for us, as it relates to the renewable energy program, we are going to be more direct in terms of targeting women to enroll in the program. To, of course, to begin the process of removing that gender bias in there. So we'd, of course, have more spaces available for women, and we are encouraging women out there who are interested in the area, once the opportunity presents itself, again, to please apply. And, of course, you would be considered and be given position for, or at least a slot to access the training. Again, with CFBC being conscious of creating opportunities for women in our federation, and again, by extension, the Caribbean region.
Any specific strategies that you would have identified as yet? Because I can recall working with the Department of Gender Affairs that recently they held a 6-week course for females in non-traditional fields. It includes tiling, like you mentioned, electrical, plumbing, also vehicle maintenance, something that persons were keen to jump on. The classes were filled out. So is there any specific strategies perhaps you're going to work with the Ministry of Education or a department like Social Development and Gender Affairs that has those linkages to try to mobilize more females?
That's correct, Mr. Richards. I would just like to make mention, I attended the launch of the Wi-Fi, or the second phase of the Wi-Fi project, which is targeting women for training in the non-traditional areas, electrical, welding, and so on. And CFBC now is a direct partner in providing training for persons who would access that program. Majority of persons, of course, are women. So that's one of the approach we are taking as it relates to ensuring that our program do have the female gender as part of our training programs at CFBC, and it's in a direct way, because we are actively participating in the second phase, and we are also looking for other opportunities, whether it be with the TVET Secretariat, whether it be NGOs, government ministries. We would seek out partners where we can actually create opportunities for women to access training at CFBC. I know there's the Women's Association, Professional Women Association, of course. That is an entity we are going to be targeting. Of course, we have one of the active members of that body, in Dr. Christine Walwyn, which of course will be meeting shortly to discuss other projects that CFBC can partner with to create additional opportunities for women. What I would encourage our women out there to do is to reach out to us at CFBC and of course understand that our non-traditional areas are welcoming women for training, and we are going to continue to advocate for that kind of arrangement. And in the case of the renewable energy project that I mentioned earlier, we'd ensure by the number of slots available for women. And again, I'm not hesitant to use the word, but I would say preference to be given to women to access these programs, so at least we have a more balanced as possible access in terms of the number of trainees we have access in these programs.
But of course, they will be qualified based on their resume.
Definitely, the entry requirements would be adhered to, and we do know that we have persons out in our community who do have the qualification to access the program. As Mr. Wilkin mentioned before, the screening and the way it was done, and we were able to attract at least a female student in the program. So we know there are others out there. And I would like to also highlight one of our immediate past lecturers at CFBC who taught in the electrical program at CFBC for quite a number of years for female and electrical installation, and she was also one of the champions for renewable energy out of the mainland of Nevis, already NABCEP certified, of course. And again, CFBC looking at not only our students but facilitators in the traditional areas that are dominated by men, to have women as facilitators, and of course trainees, building capacity among women in our federation and the region.
If I may, Ian, just to clarify something that was said while the President was responding, the training that we are currently having is a train the trainer, right? Because we want to build our training capacity. It doesn't mean that all trainings hereafter will be train the trainers, right? So in terms of entry into other training, the same criteria may not be used. For example, if we are organizing a training just for PV installers, then we don't have to use a criteria where you have to be a teacher, right? So I say that to say that for this particular training, it's a train-the-trainer, and these criteria that we use were very deliberate. But moving forward, these are not the only criteria that we'll be using. Okay.
Right, and that's where additional slots hopefully will be filled by women as they become trained and skilled and certified in these areas. Right, okay, so we're going to continue our conversation and speak about the response to the recruitment drive, because that is something that I certainly would be interested in finding out, and I'm sure the public will as well. But before we get into that, we're going to take a quick break. So stay with us, we'll be right back with more In Focus.
If you haven't done it as yet, please do it today. Subscribe to our YouTube page at SKNIS Media for regular updates, live coverage, and even more information on your government. While you're at it, like, share, and interact with our Facebook and Instagram pages at SKNIS Media and SKNIS Info.
Welcome back to In Focus. We continue our discussion on the CRIWT project with the president of the current Fritzroy Brent College, Mr. Andrew Abraham, and also Fritzroy Wilkin, who is the lead for the CRIWT project. So let's talk a bit now about the recruitment. As I mentioned, it was offered out there. How many persons actually responded to get involved and become trainers for this project?
Okay, so we were targeting 15 persons. Our database is showing that we have received over 20 applicants. And as I said, we had to go through the application process, assess the applications, the CV, etc. And then we made a determination as to what our first 15 of that cohort would look like.
Were you disappointed by the numbers, or was it about what you expected?
The only disappointment was, as I said earlier, in the response from the female gender. I really expected a higher number, right? And that is why I said that the next time around we are going to be more aggressive in targeting the female gender. That was my only disappointment. What I can also say is, after the launch, I've had several calls from persons who were investigating how they can get into the program. And so what I have advised is that they make the application and they will be on file, so that when we go to the second cohort, then they will be considered as well. So I'm getting quite a lot of calls about persons who are interested in being on the program now. And so we are looking at how we are going to organize the second cohort so that we can begin to make calls to persons.
Okay. And back to the first cohort, when does the course begin? Okay,
the course has already started. We started officially on the 2nd of April. I said officially because, remember I said the first phase is self-paced online, and we wanted the trainees to familiarize themselves with the online platform before we actually started the program. So that was done. And we had our first orientation on the 2nd of April. During that orientation, again, we had quite a lot of questions from the participants. They were very much interested in areas in which they can specialize in renewable energy. And as I said earlier, they were asking questions about whether or not we are going to offer training in other areas of the renewable energies and so on.
If it is a self-based course, self-paced course, and you mentioned it's a 6 weeks course, doesn't that impact the completion project, or completion date?
Right. So what we explain to them is, even though it is self-paced, you have to complete those modules within the 5 weeks, right? I think persons were expecting an online situation where you're live with an instructor. We have decided to do it self-paced too, because you have that flexibility of engaging with the learning material when you have the time, as against we having to infringe on your time to say, well, okay, you have to attend class at this time, right? So even though we are saying self-paced, we explain to the trainees that they have to complete that component within the 5 weeks, and then they will move to the face-to-face.
Is there a cost associated for persons being trained? Mr. President, you could probably tackle this one.
At this offering of the training, no, there isn't a cost. So it's free to the trainees, and we are hoping that our partnerships going forward, sponsorship, etc., would be able to cover the cost of training again. And I'm happy to report that the training is free of cost.
What about persons, Mr. Wilkin, who would have passed the 5 weeks and now it's time to do the practical? You mentioned that they'll be doing more of the practical aspect of it going out there. Explain to us how that will work.
Okay, so just like any training, you will take your what we would call the theory component, and then you would go to the lab or workshop to do your practical component. Now, this practical component will be done at CFBC with the instructors. So persons will be working on models, solar panel. As a matter of fact, one of the things that we're trying to do is to outfit one of the roofs at CFBC, and we're trying to see if we can get that done even before we reach that component, so that the trainees would actually be on the roof doing work on these panels as well. If that does not happen, we do have models which they can use to do their practical component on as well.
Any partnership with local companies or any other educational institution in that respect?
Currently, no, but in the pipeline I can say yes. The only partnership we have with GSI, and GSI it's really owned by a local, someone from the soil, and it's incorporated in St. Kitts Nevis. Okay.
Let's talk about GSI. You mentioned that it's and the President also mentioned that it's an important partner in the project. In what way?
They are providing the technical support for now. They are also providing the trainers. Over time, what we would see moving forward is that we will have trainers from GSI as well as trainers on ground at CFBC. That is why we have started with a trainer workshop, because we want to build local capacity at CFBC to ensure that we have a cohort of trainers to provide that support to the project as well moving forward.
So GSI, Mr. President, any other partners that you care to mention in this project?
Well, again, I would like to highlight UNDP and the Small Grants Program for really coming forward and providing the support, $116,000 US, which we are very grateful for. That's what really brings this to reality, where we are here today talking about having trainees and outfitting a lab that would be of a high standard and to be able to deliver the training that we are talking about in terms of the NABCEP certification. And as Mr. Wilkin mentioned, the outfitting of one of the roof at the campus as a training area for the persons to do their relevant testing and so on. So according to CFBC, GSI, and of course the UNDP for now, but we are also looking at the government and the various ministries. And I must say at this point, of course, we received general support late last year at the end of the fiscal year from the Ministry of Finance in our first phase, where CFBC, we do have ambition to become a green campus, to begin outfitting our roof with solar panels, to harvest the power of the sun to power education in St. Kitts and Nevis.
Okay, now the CRIWT project was inaugurated during a ceremony on April 9th, and of course persons who are looking at this live or online would have seen some photos after my intro with regards to from the launch in itself, and they would have seen that it was supported by members of the cabinet. The Prime Minister was there, the Deputy Prime Minister, of course, who is the Minister of Education also, but also the Senior Minister and also the Attorney General, plus the Minister responsible for Environment. Talk to us a bit about the support of the cabinet and what exactly that it means to the project to have that high-level support.
It is very important for us. I mean, such a pioneering initiative at CFBC in terms of renewable energy. So to have, the Prime Minister there, it was huge support and endorsement at the same time, with the understanding that, of course, St. Kitts' ambition is to become a sustainable island state. To have, of course, the Senior Minister, the Minister of Education, Dr. Douglas, of course, Dr. Clark, our learned AG, as well was in attendance. It was really good to have that high-level support in terms of such a, as I said, a pioneering initiative at CFBC, training persons in renewable energy, and we're talking about transitioning from fossil fuel to power our vehicles and our homes. Talking about the smart homes that was recently launched in St. Kitts and Nevis as well. So there are various initiatives that are happening within the Federation that we believe that having such a support aligns us with what the national agenda, but also including us in a regional and a global agenda as it relates to addressing climate change. And our leaders are the ones who are championing that on the macro level or the international front. So it was really important to have them at the launch and to get the endorsement at the same time, because we know in order for us to have, for this initiative to be successful, we need support at the highest level, and we need visibility as well, so that these persons understand that this is not an initiative that is a one-time type effort, but it's something that we're looking at in the long term. And that's why we are so proud to have such an initiative. And again, for the entire team within CFBC, and for Mr. Wilkin, of course, with his experience and expertise as well, to step forward. I know he'll be humble about it, but he's an electrician, electrical engineer by training. Humble about it, but at the same time to have persons or resources like that available to us at CFBC is certainly a privilege. And this is something that we do not take lightly. And again, to all persons who supported, and for all those persons who we know would come on board to support as well, we look forward to partnering with them again, not only the government, but the NGOs as well, who do have a stake. We know the central bank, who have, of course, have it in the power of the sun already in a big way. The deputy governor also was at the function as well. And the work that they are doing, our students do have internship opportunity there, building capacity as well. So, you know, all in all, the partners or the persons who are present in the room was really well received, and we really appreciate that kind of support in such an initiative.
So, Mr. Wilkin, the opportunities are being developed with St. Kitts and Nevis transitioning to a sustainable island state. I believe the Prime Minister would have spoke about, of course, the largest solar farm that in the OACS and within the Caribbean. He mentioned that will be constructed right here. So there are opportunities for persons to get involved in the project and to benefit from them, become certified, and be able to feed themselves and their family.
Definitely, definitely. And also, one of the things that we haven't spoken much about for this project is the research and innovation component. Yes, we are focusing now on the training, workforce training, but it's a center for research and innovation. So what we envisage is the CFBC will now become the hub for research and innovation in renewable energies within the region as well. And at CFBC, we are also preparing and positioning ourselves to deal with that. We have just launched a concept for a research unit at CFBC, which will work in tandem with the research for this project as well.
What's the timeline for becoming a hub, to your mind? How long do you think that will take?
Well,
and what needs to happen?
Right. We have started, because the hub has now been launched, but what needs to happen now is for us to strategically outline the development as we envision it. As the project evolves, CFBC will evolve. As it grows and expands, CFBC will grow and expand. So we are now looking at what type of management structure is needed as the project evolves. The type of policies that are needed, not only at CFBC, but also to ensure that whatever policies we have at CFBC, that they align with the government's national policies as it relates to the renewable energy agenda. Right? We are also envisioning CFBC being a green institution, as the President said. So perhaps in the next year and a half, 2 years, you visit CFBC and the roof just look different. Solar panels here, there, everywhere. The intention really is for CFBC to be that example of what it means to be fully dependent on the renewable energies. We are also considering or looking at greening the curriculum. Because even though we're talking about a project at CFBC, a Caribbean center, part of it is really to transition St. Kitts and Nevis to a green economy. And the only way we can truly accomplish that is to green people's mind. Because we have to think green so that we can begin to behave green, respond green, etc. Right? So we're looking at curriculum review. We're looking at the management structure that is needed. We're looking at the policies that are needed, etc. In order for us to build out the center as we envision it.
And timeline, how long do you think that will take?
In terms of the human resource capacity, I can see us reaching that within the next year or two. But in terms of the center being fully green, I would say within the next 3 years. I could see CFBC being a green institution, as we call it.
Right. Okay. So, final question, Mr. Wilkin. You mentioned that, of course, it's a six weeks course, and there are 15 persons who are being trained. So, what happens next when they are finished?
Okay. So, after the training, they will go on to take the NABCET certificate, and NABCET is the acronym for the North American Board of Certified Energy Practitioners. It's a certificate that is recognized internationally because we're building a center of excellence. So we want to ensure that those who train within the center, that they get a certificate that is recognized internationally as well. So they will go on to do their NAPSEP certificate. And then, as I said, we want to now move from project to program, because we've started as a project, and then it will eventually become a part of the CFBC regular program. So all of that we are now discussing and preparing to lay out. And then we will now look at starting training with our second and third and fourth cohort down the road. So even though the project is being launched and we have our first cohort, we are now in the process of laying out strategically all the things that I just discussed, at what time we make the necessary changes and adjustments based on how the project develops.
Okay. Gentlemen, thank you so much for appearing on this edition of InFocus. We actually do have another segment coming up with the Ministry of Agriculture, which of course Agriculture Open Day is approaching, and of course that is a part of the Sustainable Island State agenda to increase food production as well and make us more food secure. So we'd like to thank you for coming on and talking to us a bit more about the greening energy aspects that are taking place at CFBC. Mr. President, of course, there's an open invitation for you and Mr. Wilkin as well to come back to speak a bit more about some of the projects that are taking place at CFBC. And I know the university, the Southern University collaboration is something that a lot of persons are interested in, and we certainly would like to hear a lot more about it from CFB perspective. So we'd like to thank you and have you back at some time. So Mr. Wilkin, President Abraham, thank you so much for being on this edition of InFocus.
Thank you very much
for the opportunity.
Yes. Thank you.
Stay right there, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back with more InFocus and have that discussion with officials from the Ministry of Agriculture.
Now, Green Solutions International, SKN Incorporated, was founded in 2017 with a mission to advance energy and environmental sustainability in St. Kitts and Nevis and neighboring islands throughout the Caribbean basin. We have conducted NAPSEP solar training courses right here at the CFBC and also installed solar systems at the Newton Ground Primary School and also at the Nevis Pottery, funded by the UNDP Small Grants Program. What we bring to the table are the best of the best experts in their respective fields. Our team comprises of leading authorities in climate change, solar energy, electric vehicle technology, and waste to energy technology.
It is clear that the Caribbean Center of Excellence aims to position our region at the forefront of sustainable innovation and skilled workforce development. By fostering research, promoting innovation, and providing comprehensive training, we aspire to create a brighter future for our people. Quite timely, because 5 buses should be on their way from Taiwan eventually for our students.
We are about to start the largest solar battery storage possibly in the whole Caribbean. That solar program or project is supposed to get started in a month to 2 months. But in addition to that, the reason why I supported this program so strongly, and when Dr. Archibald and I spoke, is that if we are going to create a solar farm that is so large, and we are saying to the world that we are going to become the first sustainable island state, and we have taken that bold step, we have to take the other bold step, which is to create the largest certification program here in the OECS, so that our people can be trained for those jobs. So we're going to take them right from college to the job site so that they can see the purpose and essence of their work. And just to add, I've spoken to the company that is doing the solar farm, and I've informed them of this that we are starting at the college. And they have expressed, because they have many experts working with them, and they have expressed their interest in partnering with CFBC. So as you train your people, you take them straight to the job site. No need to import workers in this renewable energy space.
Welcome back to InFocus. It's a bonus today for those who are viewing and listening. We are pleased to welcome officials from the Ministry of Agriculture to speak a bit about Open Day. We have with us Dr. Tracy Challenger, who is the Agriculture Development Advisor, and of course Shaira Flanders, who is no stranger to us here at InFocus. She's the Head of Media and Communications at the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Marine Resources. Now, ladies, the Agriculture Open Day is on April 25 and 26. The theme, securing our future through sustainable agriculture by 2025 and beyond. How does the FAIR really support and promote local agriculture and food producers here in St. Kitts and Nevis?
Well, firstly, Ian, thank you for having us once again. It's always a pleasure to join you on InFocus. And of course, this time will be no different than any other time, except I might be a little bit more excited because we are speaking about the 29th annual Agriculture Open Day. And of course, annual meaning that each year we have a very large hosting of this event. Now, to your question, how does the FAIR support the local agriculture and the food producers? Well, to be honest, there are many different ways that the FAIR supports. However, I want to specifically highlight the economic impact that the FAIR usually has. Now, the FAIR, or should I say the Open Day event, attracts vendors, artisans, tourists even, because usually persons, if on that day we have cruise ships that are in, it piques the interest of the visitors who would like to experience all things agriculture in St. Kitts. And the Agriculture Open Day offers the best in agriculture on the island of St. Kitts. And sometimes we do get participation from vendors out of Nevis as well, our sister island. So we try to take advantage of that. But economically, the Agriculture Open Day injects revenue into the local economies. Moreover, the Agriculture Open Day provides a platform for our farmers as well as our fishers, and they get the opportunity to showcase what it is they have to offer on a day-to-day basis. And this event, because it garners so many eyes and it invites a host of not only students but persons from various communities, you know, businesses, I mean, anybody you could think about on the island who absolutely enjoys the Agriculture Open Day will tell you they look forward to the produce that is offered. They look forward to seeing the fresh seafood that is available for sale, as well as what the small businesses have to offer as well. So it does grant that platform to showcase, and it gives them the opportunity to engage in the buying and selling of local goods and services.
But in addition to that, what resources are available really for farmers and fishers participating in the FAIR who are interested in improving their operations or expand their knowledge?
Well, right now our focus is on promoting innovation and sustainability, right? And as you mentioned in our theme, securing our future through sustainable agriculture by 2025 and beyond, this year's focus is heavily placed on sustainability. And so at the Agriculture Open Day, we're providing a space for our farmers, whether they've been farming for the last 10 to 15 years, or aspiring farmers, the young farmers who may be interested, the opportunity to ask questions. We're going to have our crops division displaying, and we're also going to have our livestock division displaying. And at those various sections, we have our technical staff available. They're very skilled and they're open to answering any of the questions that these persons may have. We also are going to have on display innovative methods that will showcase the many different ways that you can engage in climate smart farming, right? We want to ensure that our farmers are readily available, given that right now we are living in an era where the climate at any given moment can threaten our food security. There's no telling what could happen during the hurricane season. There's no telling if we're going to later on, God forbid, we have tidal waves or, you know, these types of things that happen and they just completely throw a country out of whack. St. Kitts and Nevis is no different than any other small island state that would be struggling, right, to repair and rebuild, given that we depend heavily on other countries. So we want to ensure that our food producers, not just our farmers and our fishers, because our backyard gardeners as well, they're very interested in learning more, learning the various methods that can help them in situations like that, whether it means learning how to grow your food using greenhouse technology, learning how to increase your water resource, because of course we know that we're going through a period of drought yet again, and the water scarcity is really, really a problem. Even worse now it seems during this period because we've been experiencing the water shortage, right? So we want to show our food producers the very the nitty-gritty of how we can get things done without excluding traditional farmers. So we will be able to do that at the Agriculture Open Day.
And of course the water challenges will continue according to experts, not of course here in St. Kitts and Nevis, but across the world as climate change and global warming continues to progress even further. Now there is a new wrinkle this year at the Agriculture Open Day, and
yes,
I'll bring in Dr. Challenger for this one, and it would be the involvement of the vet board. Speak to us specifically about that, Dr. Challenger.
Okay, so the St. Kitts Nevis Veterinary Board will be adding another dimension to Agriculture Open Day, and that is really focusing on animal welfare. In particular, we'll be focusing on dogs and how taking care of our companion animal, in particular dogs, how they can affect the human health, food safety, and food security.
So what specifically will the board be doing at the Agriculture Open Day? Okay,
so the board would be giving illustration and actually demonstrating and performing the duties of veterinary medicine, a regular vet. So we'll be doing vaccinations for dog. We'll also be doing deworming, and we'll be doing dog licensing. Those three activities are big activities in agriculture.
Any particular vaccination type that will be given? I'm
yes,
not a dog owner, so I have to ask.
Yes, as I mentioned, well, I don't know if you've ever heard about the One Health concept, which is really recognizing that animal health affects human health, and it also affects the environment. And so of the diseases that affect humans, 60% of them are zoonotic. So they come from either livestock or companion animals. Okay? So we can't focus on all, so we have chosen to zero in on zoonotic diseases that can be transmitted to humans through dogs, diseases from dogs. And one or three of the diseases that we'll be looking at is, one is leptospirosis, the other one is hookworms, and the other one is tapeworms. So those three that we'll be focusing on this time around. As time goes on, we will add to the list of zoonotic diseases. But for now, we are focusing on those three. And what I would say, leptospirosis is all of them are very dangerous. But leptospirosis is caused by a bacteria. And it can be difficult to treat, especially if you don't catch it early. Okay? And how this disease is spread is that if you have a dog that has leptospirosis and it urinates in the environment, in the water, and you now go and walk and you have lesions on your feet, on your skin, and you walk or walk in the water, and think about children who likes to play in water, who like to play in water
Barefoot.
and barefoot, and so then that they will be able to contract that disease by doing that sort of activity. It can be ingested, it can go through the skin, and so forth. But it is a disease that we can reduce its prevalence in the environment. We can, I would go as far as saying, prevent human exposure or reduce human exposure to the disease through vaccination of your dog.
And if a person were to contract these diseases, that they're curable, there's a vaccination or medicine that they're able to take to help to overcome the effects?
Well, of course you can, yeah, there's a vaccination. Well, I'm speaking about the companion animal, dog.
Right.
Yes. So prevention, you always hear prevention is better than cure.
Of
and
course.
so we do have a reliable vaccine for leptospirosis to prevent leptospira in dogs.
Okay. And you mentioned that in addition to the vaccination, the worming will also take place. Are these services being offered for free?
Yes. The first 50 vaccination, which is 25 on Thursday and 25 on Friday, will be free for the vaccination. After that, the person will have to pay an additional $30. Bearing in mind that the cost of a vaccination, regular cost of vaccination, is $55. So there's still a big incentive for persons to bring their animals to be vaccinated, even if they don't make the 25 for the day.
Ms. Flanders, will there be a controlled environment for these animals? Because, of course, hundreds and hundreds of persons participate in the fair each year, not just those with the stars, but also those who come and visit.
I'm so happy that you asked that question, because I really wanted to jump in, especially for the owners of the big dogs. I have to make sure that I add that there is going to be a specific entrance that persons will be asked to use to enter the agriculture open day field if they are entering specifically to get the treatment that is being offered by the St. Kitts and Nevis Vet Board. For those persons with large dogs, we want to remind you that those dogs should be leashed. You have to enter the compound with the animals already leashed, or we would not allow you to enter, because we have to take into account the safety of others who are also enjoying and participating in the Agriculture Open Day.
And Agriculture Open Day will be held where and when?
So the Agriculture Open Day, the 29th edition of the Agriculture Open Day, is going to be held on Thursday 25th and Friday 26th April, and it's going to be held at the Royal Basia National Park, and that is, for those persons who are not aware of that term, that is over at the Kim Collins Highway or next to the National Heroes Park. So if you attended last year, then it is in the same location.
Right,
Yes.
okay. And of course, you being a media person, you're familiar with an elevator pitch. So I'll give you just about 50 seconds left, that's the time left in the program, to make that pitch to the persons to participate.
Yes, so I want to use this opportunity once again to invite all persons, for those persons who maybe you have not been to an Agriculture Open Day in a very long time, don't be selfish, bring the children, bring the grandchildren, because we know that they enjoy the Agriculture Open Day even more than the adults. And this year we are promising to have an event that is going to be even bigger, I should say, than last year's event. We were able to iron out some of the kinks from last year, and so we're trying to make as much improvement as possible. So we want you to take advantage of this Agriculture Open Day. The fee is only $5 to enter. Children in uniform can enter for free. We're so pleased. We have over 100 plus vendors who registered, and I have to commend the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. I know we always give them slack for waiting last minute to register for our events, but this year I am pleased to say that our vendors not only showed up extremely early and prepared for the vendor meeting, but our vendors registered very early before the deadline. Now we had maybe like 1 or 2 squeeze-ins, but we kind of expected that. But I'm really, really happy to say that our vendors, they're so excited. The anticipation is high, and for very good reason.
Okay, and we'll leave it right there.
Yes.
Sheriff Flanders and Dr. Tracy Challenger, thank you for joining us on this edition of InFocus for this segment.
Thank you, Ian.
Thank you.
We'd like to thank you, viewers and listeners, for joining us for this edition, and we trust that you will join us next week at the same place at the same time. I'm Ian Richards.
Join us every Wednesday for InFocus, a weekly talk show produced by the St. Kitts Nevis Information Service, where we provide exclusives with key persons within the government and discuss pertinent, relevant, and interesting matters that affect us all. Tune in every Wednesday, live on ZIZ Radio and streamed live on Facebook at SKNIS Media and ZIZ Online. InFocus, your government, your business.